I'm not talking to you as in telling you that I'm going to give you some sort of a magic formula or, a magic seed that's going to, transform your statement of purpose or whatever it is, right? This is just pure logic. It's just pure common sense. And I will explain why, I'm giving you the advice I'm giving you as well. So it's all based on past results, logic, and a lot of common sense. And that's something that I'm hoping that a lot of you will be able to relate to, right? And that's the sincere hope, essentially. So let's dive right into it then. Statement of purpose. The most important part of the statement of purpose is in the title itself. It is the purpose or your goals. I have seen so many SOPs that have been, written beautifully with, wonderful fancy language and, whole, other things that make it a nicely written document, but without solid goals or without a solid purpose. Everything in your SOP should revolve around that purpose, and that goal or that purpose has to be very, very strong. In terms of element of the SOP and how you should structure it in different paragraphs, right? Your goal or your purpose, and this is point number one, should be made as obvious, as clear, and as apparent as quickly as possible in the document, right up top. The most effective way to start a statement of purpose would be to make your goals very, very apparent and clear in the first or the second paragraph max. Now, that being said, there have been many SOPs where the goal has, elaborated and, written towards the end, which is also fine. But as an admissions committee going through the document, the first thing they want to know is your goal and why you are applying to that program. And therefore, the earlier you make it obvious in the SOP, the better it is. It just gives everything else you're writing afterwards so much more context, right? So the goal has to be made clear early, right up top. The next most important thing is that this goal needs to be very, very specific and technically correct. It needs to be specific in terms of your specific role or function. It needs to be specific in terms of the domain or the industry you want to work in, right? For example, if somebody writes a goal that I want to become a tech entrepreneur, or I want to start my own company, or my own machine learning and artificial intelligence based product, that is not a strong enough or compelling goal. It certainly is not for somebody who's applying to graduate school or a master's program, right? Admissions committees require a greater deal of specificity and a greater deal of focus from your end, right? So that is well thought out. The way you show that is by showing that your goals are very, very specific in terms of your particular role and the industry that you want to be in. You should argue something along the lines of, I want to start an AI product, or I want to develop AI algorithms in collaboration with a company that improves, the accuracy of, the detection of tumors in X-rays or something of that sort, right? Or at least specific enough to talk about driving AI solutions in the healthcare sector or a particular sector. Either as an entrepreneur or as software guy at a top company or whatever it is, right? So the function and domain need to be specific. This is incredibly important. This is the most critical part of the statement of purpose, that your goals are very, very clear and you need to show that you've thought about this very, very well, right? That's the first thing. The second, element of the statement of purpose is talking about the projects and the technical stuff you've done, especially for technical programs or even an engineering management program. Talking about the projects you have done that are relevant to the pursuit of your goals, right? You may have done a bunch of different things, right? But you cannot include all of them in most cases. So the ones you prioritize and include, with a great level of importance, are the projects that are relevant to your goals, through which your goals have evolved, right? These projects should not be filled with technical jargon, right? Technical jargon is technical terms, right? You don't want to fill them up with too many of those, right? You want to write about them in a format known as the STAR format, which is situation, task, action, result. So the projects for any MS program are focused on how you solved a problem using your engineering skills or the skills you picked up in the classroom, right? So the results become incredibly important. So you need to set up the situation. What was the problem you were trying to solve? That is the situation. The second is tasks or challenges. In order to solve this problem, what specific tasks did you have to take up, or what specific challenges did you have to overcome? Third is action, right? In order to overcome these challenges, what specific actions did you take? Which is, did you use a particular software? Did you code in a particular language? Did you collaborate with a particular team? Did you recruit somebody? How did you go about solving the problem? Third is our results. Based on these actions, what were the results that you delivered? And if you can quantify them, great. How did it improve efficiency? Did it reduce costs? Did it save lives? whatever it is, even if it's not quantifiable, you need to put it in, right? So that's how you write about your projects, right? That's the second element of the SOP. What I'm trying to tell you in the first part is what are the three elements of the SOP. How you cover these three elements of the SOP in different paragraphs is something that I will cover eventually. So, but keep in mind three elements that you have to cover, because the structure, what I tell you, can be a little flexible. You can change it here and there, one paragraph up, one paragraph down, doesn't matter as much, right? But if you're missing these three, elements, then it becomes a massive problem, right? So just keep your focus on these elements. The third part of the SOP, once you talk about your goals, once you talked about the projects that are relevant to your goals, or you're showing the journey towards your goals, the third element of the statement of purpose, which is incredibly important, is how this university is going to help you cover certain gaps in your skill sets and going to take you a step closer to your goals, right? Maybe there's particular courses at that specific university that are going to help you pick up certain technical skills which you're lacking in, which your projects made you realize, right? Which are again relevant to your goals. You want to talk about particular clubs that are going to help you collaborate with people whom you can learn from and solve problems that you're very passionate about solving, because certain clubs there are doing that. Maybe there is a particular set of companies that recruit time after time from that particular program, that will help you, get into a job role that will take you a step closer to your goals, right? So that becomes, very important. It needs to be very specific in terms of how particular elements of that university are going to help you cover certain gaps you believe are preventing you from getting to your goals. This needs to be a very grounded, practical narrative. You should also talk about how you add a little bit of value to the university. Because of the projects that I've carried out here, I could potentially contribute to this particular club, or I can bring insights into this particular class because I've touched upon elements of this at my previous place of study, or at my previous place of work. So the last paragraph needs to be very specific, grounded, and relevant to you. That's what tailoring the last paragraph to your profile and the university means, right? That needs to be the case. The biggest mistake I see in the last paragraph is people writing generically, saying that courses across marketing, finance, and accounting will give me a holistic management education that will put me on the pursuit of my goals, right? Or will put me on track to achieve my goals. Now the problem with this is it's not specific enough. You need to that you can replace three subjects with anything else, and then it will still hold true. That will help you gain a holistic management education or whatever it is. So you need to be specific about which course is going to contribute in which manner in order for you to achieve what you want to in the years to come, right? These are the three elements of the SOP. Let me cover the paragraph by paragraph parts of the statement of purpose. First paragraph. Lots of people are concerned about starting the statement of purpose off with a bang, with something creative, with something different, something hatke, with a quote, something very inspiring. My suggestion on that is don't do it, right? Admissions committees, first and foremost, guys, are not reading your statement of purpose to be impressed or blown away by your writing skills. They're not looking at a mind-blowing document. They're looking at a document that is stating your story in the simplest possible terms. So the best way to start off your statement of purpose would be by stating your goals, right? I want to become a product manager in perhaps the entertainment field for certain set of companies, or I want to become leverage the power of machine learning and artificial intelligence, for instance, to create interactive learning apps for kids who are in their primary school or in secondary school because they're underserved, right? It could be anything. I'm not going to go into the specifics of that, but that needs to be made apparent in the first paragraph. If you'd like to make it a little bit more story-like, you can talk about some inspiration in your career, some particular project or some particular situation that you observed that gave you the basis and the motivation for these goals and why you believe these goals are important. Or you could generally state, if it's an obvious thing, why leveraging technology or leveraging particular solution as a product manager or a data scientist or as a management consultant, whatever it is important to solve particular problems in a particular sector, right? You can state it like that. You can state the basis and the foundation and what your goal is. That's the best way to start. Don't waste your time trying to be very creative. Don't talk about stuff like I was playing cars during my childhood and that's where my interest in automobiles came up and all of that. That's very juvenile, right? Needs to be very specific. It needs to be very simply put. It needs to be direct. That is what admissions committees appreciate because they're reading hundreds of documents. And if you make your goals clear very quickly, they will be very thankful for you and they'll be very happy reading the rest of the document. That's how you start with your goals, right? That's the first part. Once you move on to paragraph number 2, you can choose, if you have limited work experience, that is, to talk about what your college education taught you, right? Which were the subjects you enjoyed? How did it open your world, open your eyes to the practical applications of these subjects, and what your education has given you, at a particular university. Or you could also talk about what prompted you to take up this particular engineering course if you don't have content for the later part of the SOP. Once you do that, you can transition into how you applied the learnings in your classroom at a particular project in the college. If you have a good set of projects, then I would recommend you start talking about the project straight away. And again, in these projects, like I mentioned, need to be in the STAR format, which is situation, task, action, result. Once you move on paragraph number 3, if you don't have work experience, or if you don't have too many internships, you can continue to talk about another college project where again you're solving a problem, right? Keep in mind, when you're transitioning between paragraph to paragraph, there needs to be a justification why you chose to take up certain projects versus certain others, right? So you can say that, okay, I solved this particular problem in this particular area, which taught me XYZ, and then I moved on to the other project because I identified that this was a very, very pertinent problem that I wanted to do it. Just stating that, okay, I went and took up this project as part of my mini project or as part of my final year project is not a justification that's strong enough. It needs to be seen that you take an initiative to solve that particular problem, and therefore you're actively, as an engineer, identifying and solving problems, right? Which becomes incredibly important for you. Next thing that you have to keep in mind is that when you're talking about situation, task, action, result in a particular project, right? Results also mean what it means in terms of your own learning, your own development, your own understanding of your skills, right? So you could talk about a result where you improve the operational efficiency of a particular manufacturing plant in an internship, right? But you could also talk about what it means in terms of your overall journey. So you could say that through this experience, I realized that I was very, very good at applying technical solutions to solve problems, but I did not understand how this solution could be scalable for other use cases, for which perhaps I need an education or a master's degree. That's when it shows that after every project, you are evolving as an individual, and also you are realizing what you need to do in terms of a further education in the years to come, right? So when you're talking about projects, that helps in the transition as well. You can choose to write about projects in maybe paragraphs 2, 3, 4, or just paragraphs 2 and 3. Or if there is a no word limit SOP, and when there's no word limit, I would recommend you stick to around 1300 words max. You can choose to write about it in 4 paragraphs as well. The important thing is these projects need to show relevance to your goals, and they also need to be in the star format. They also need to show your evolution in terms of the skills you've gained and the skills you wish to pick up, or you realized your weaknesses through that project. And they need to be in a fair bit of transition. It shouldn't be, I did this project, then I did that project, then I did this project. It needs to show some sort of a thought process behind why you chose to take up those projects, right? That's the middle chunk of the SOP, which takes up a significant portion of your structure. So let me give you a little bit of a recap, right? So that the last paragraph will make a lot more sense for you guys. Now, as we stand, for a third person reading it, the person has seen that, okay, you made your goals very clear, that this person wants to do this particular job in this particular industry. Fantastic. This program is relevant to them. They've thought about where they want to be, years down the line. Fantastic. Then they've read that, okay, this person has a goal. What has this person done to work towards these goals, or how have these goals come to be? All right, we see, okay, he's done this project that seems to be relevant to the goal. He's talked about the skills that he's picked up, and then he's showing that he needs to pick up certain other skills for which he's taking concrete steps to future projects, or he's going to join our program to pick up those skills, right? So that's where they are. The goal is ready. You talked about the evolution of your goals, how you've taken steps towards it, how you picked up certain skills, how you identified the skills you need to pick up. The final part of the puzzle becomes, okay, this is this person's journey so far. It looks fantastic. Now, how does university or our program fit into this person's scheme of things? So, so far, you mentioned all the projects you talked about, all the skills you picked up. You showed about how your goals have evolved, and you also mentioned, fleetingly about the skills you wish to pick up, right? And that's where a master's program comes in, and that is where you talk about a particular course that is going to help you out. Now, like for example, if you want to become a product manager at an Amazon or a Microsoft, right, which are solving very pertinent problems at scale, Say, today you argued that, okay, so far I've done so many projects, so many technical things, I've written so much code that has created particular solutions that solve problems. Maybe I created an attendance management system. Maybe I created a robot that has a camera fitted to it that transmits images somewhere else, right? Which solves so many problems where people cannot access, like at landslides and whatever, right? And I understand how to solve problems using engineering, right? But then you say, I don't understand how I can create 100 of these robots, or how this algorithm can solve problems for a million people. I need to be able to scale this ability to solve problems in a commercially viable manner. That's why I'm looking at a particular program that's going to make me pick up these skills, right? All you could talk about how you don't lack you're lacking the technical depth in a particular subject, where you can create that could enable you to create impact across sectors, right? Essentially innovating to create impact instead of just innovating to take a salary, for example, right? How the technical depth is going to be provided by particular professors or particular coursework options at that specific university, right? You need to cover that as well through the coursework, through any clubs, through any projects, through any internship opportunities, through any research labs, or even something as simple as certain companies that the particular university opens doors to, right? A very, very strong argument would be, okay, I want to become a product manager at Amazon. I've seen through your website that and from alumni that there are scores, 10, 20, 30 people are recruited as product managers for Amazon from this particular program. So this program gives me a direct path for me to achieve my goals. Even a very grounded, simple, almost selfish narrative like that works absolutely well for a statement of purpose. Again, don't write about stuff that is not practical. Don't write about stuff that's not relevant. A lot of international students tend to write about incubation centers where they can raise funding and start a company, right? In the US, but you cannot really do that on a student visa. So writing about stuff like that just seems like you're writing for the sake of writing. So you need to be very practical and grounded in that outlook as well, in terms of how the university is going to specifically help you achieve your goals, right? So as we stand, from an admissions committee's point of view, just a couple of minutes I'll wrap up the way they're reading it, because they spend, like I said, maybe 5 minutes, 8 minutes max on reading your document. You've made your goals clear. These goals are relevant to the program. They're technically correct. Fantastic. You know that this program is a fit for you. That is a big, big win, right? Then you talked about projects, be it at your school, be it at your college rather, or be it at your place of work, be it at internships, wherever it is. You've talked about your projects and how you created impact there, and how your goal has evolved step by step, post that, right? And then you're also telling them that these are the skills I have at this point. These are the skills I need to pick up. Finally, you're justifying, this is how your university is going to help me pick up these skills through various avenues. This is how it's going to give me very, very necessary exposure, for me to succeed on the pursuit of my goals. Finally, you're arguing that, this university is a part of your journey, which will ultimately lead to your goals. The university is never your goal. It is a part of your journey that is very, very essential at this point in time. And it needs to be, very, very grounded. So that's how the SOP should work. Typically, first paragraph, last paragraph are fixed pretty much. Beyond, in the middle, you can have 3 paragraphs, 4 paragraphs, 5 paragraphs, doesn't matter. Just to give you a little bit of context, you can choose to do an SOP which does not have any word limit, and a lot of programs do not have a word limit. Anywhere between 900 to 1300 words is fine. Don't go beyond that, because it shows that you are not able to communicate, succinctly, which is very important. Below that is okay, but I'm sure there'll be more elements to your, profile that you want to talk about.